Hey guys, it's your littlest admin, Khonsuview, back again for one more review. Before I jump into this one, I did want to say, after going back to rewatch the one I did yesterday, which was the Silent Struggles, which actually ends up being the one right before this. It actually wasn't planned for me to take both of these in succession. It just kind of happened to be the ones I threw my name on that needed reviews. No, but the only thing I wanted to touch on was that I kind of rattled on for a little while in the last one. And I feel like there's some things I should have drawn more attention to, like the actual the meat of the RP instead of like the couple little things that I decided to pick on. Um, but sometimes when you get on a tangent, start rattling it, that goes on and on. But I did just want to mention with that last one, there were some touching moments, and I probably should have talked about more. But I mean, it was really greatly written, like I said. So I think everyone should just go and read it. But anyway, we're talking about this log, not the last one. So this is understanding nature. It actually takes us back to the same caves. The scene starts in the same location as well. I believe it's the same hospital. I'm starting to understand some context from this. I'm guessing there was a big battle that went on and everyone got injured. From the sounds of it, either Cordio wasn't there or wasn't injured, and he's just there because he's looking out for his friends. Um, I actually really enjoy this intro here, the first couple posts that both of them do. That kind of lets us know what's going on. It's weird because it's nice because a lot of times whenever we're reading, when anyone's reading, not just like a reviewer, is reading a post or a log, and they might not have the context on the last role plays that went on. It's nice to have something that's just a small reminder of like, oh hey, this is why we're here. Um, this is what happened. Kind of, even if you don't have to do a whole synopsis of your previous log, but just even something that gives you a quick breakdown. And I say that's funny because a book wouldn't do that. A book might remind you of stuff that happened if there's several chapters. Um, so I would say that's something that's not really it shouldn't be required, but it also makes you feel like you're more part of the story. If in my case in this situation, I haven't totally been keeping up with the whole story. Um, it's it's funny too. I think because it's like Ariel talks about um, wanting to get out of the hospital, and she really shouldn't, and the nurse would be mad, and that comes up a couple times. And I actually worked in a hospital for, oh gosh, I don't know, 7 years or something. So I think anyone who is there for more than a day or two really just wants to get out of the hospital. So like I think any of us, if we had supernatural meta powers or could fly, well, actually Ariel can't fly, but still, like these people know how to get around. They've been across the galaxy, right? Um, I would, I'd make a break for it, or I'd sneak out when and what's security or a nurse or someone gonna do to you, if you're a superhuman, right? Anyway, there's a line I really like down in here when they're talking at the hospital before they've left, because the plan is to like Cordio asks Ariel, hey, let's go to this cave that I know of. It's really cool. I think I had some sort of like connection to it that uh, I can't really explain yet, and maybe you can help me out, kind of deal. Uh, but before they go, there's a line here where he mentions about Genesis. Let's see if we can find it real quick. Um, Asking, I don't know if you've met him. Genesis gave me some resounding advice when it came to flight, because you talk about like, hey, can you fly? If not, I'll take you. So the funny thing is that he's like, the odds of knowing the same people in this universe were astronomically low, but never zero. And it just made me think about how I don't know if we want to call it like the meta magnetism, where and of course it happens in Dragon Ball Z. It's every single strongest person in the universe seems to be concentrated on Goku. You know what I mean? Like uh, you have Brawly who comes after him, and maybe that's because he hated him as a kid. Frieza, hates the guy, but also he was more there for the Dragon Balls. Like the Dragon Balls, I guess, really bring everyone together, but still, like these meta powerful beings all seem to congregate, right? And that happens in our universe. So it's just funny. It's saying like the odds of knowing the same people is so low. Yet in reality, I would say like if you role play long enough, you pretty much will bump elbows with everybody who's on the channel. Like writers will, if you want to say it, or just that's because that's how fun roleplay happens is when you get together. So you find a reason to travel across the entire universe, and we've got tens. Well, yeah, I guess tens of planets now that you could potentially use. But it's just an interesting little tidbit. So I don't know if that was a little tongue in cheek of saying like, oh, what are the chances of actually meeting someone in the universe? When in reality, it's like the chance is actually very high if you're anywhere, on the meta spectrum. Um, so yeah, just powerful people come together, I guess. And then let's see. I thought, honestly, when this log started, I thought this might be a bit of like a flight log, like a learning to fly. Because a lot of times those big milestones that you get to, you'll, instead of just reaching tier and then you just take off and fly, you'll usually give yourself a reason. Like you know, you might have a log where um, you learn from somebody or you go through something that teaches you how to do it. But that's not what this is about actually. But I actually would, I think hopefully Ariel learns to fly, maybe not. And that could actually be, something to play on if you never could. Uh, but anyway, to go on further, speaking of meta superpowers, I think Ariel mentions that they've never met Nova, which I think is kind of funny because Ariel might possibly be the only person in the universe who doesn't know who Nova is. Like the Dragon Ball wish, all that stuff. I mean, Nova's been involved in countless fights. I think it's even mentioned here that they met Nova on Hydia, Vegeta, or something. Like Hypo did. Ariel obviously didn't. Um, but it's just kind of like I an Indian for a while. He's not around right now, but I feel like he was another person that just because of his scientist set, um, you know, and he was a big role player as well. It's just funny that everyone meets them. So, not saying you have to, but it's just kind of funny. It's like, oh, I don't know who Nova is, and it's almost like it almost be like saying, oh, I don't know who Goku is. um, Especially when like I think, well, again, I guess Ariel wouldn't have been on Earth, but our Dragon Balls are sort of say centered on Earth, but they're universe wide, and it's like I think it was broadcast, the Wish, or at least and even Nova's Proving, which was a huge arc where like almost everybody just went to go fight and hang out, basically. Like that was televised, or there was like I think it might have got retconned, but anyway, neither here nor there. That's not what this log. So, I had mentioned in the last log I didn't feel like the cave setting got used enough. Like you went to this cave that seemed really cool. Um, and this is another thing where I feel like you miss some stuff in context with not reading logs and, or like the whole story. Cause it's like we're going back to the cave now. So that first RP could have just been the setup, like, hey, here's this cave. It's interesting. Nothing's happening with it yet, but just hang on. This is a hint. We're going back to it. So in that sense, where I didn't feel like a lot happened in it last time, and that's perfectly okay. Sometimes you just need a set piece, right? Or sometimes you're in the middle of an RP and things change. You might go down a slightly different, path than you're intending. Either way, let's see. They actually get to the cave here, and they begin to he tells her about like, oh, I have this connection with nature, and it's I think it's something that's really cool to possibly explore. I don't know if anyone's done something like natural magic, maybe sort of like almost druidism in a way, like connections to plants, like, hey, like everything in the universe has like chi or ki or whatever, like these plants do too. Like I can feel the life in something. And I believe it's even mentioned at one point about like you can feel something different in a flower, and like these crystals have this special this resonance, like this power that he can sense, that he had a run in with another plant like that he connected to. I think it actually attacked him in a different role play, and he was kind of like, hey, there's something I noticed. So he's telling Ariel, like, I really want you to see this. There's something here. maybe you can help me. And at first, when I started to read this, I thought Ariel did the thing where, you come into a situation, you're like, I have no idea what this is, but here, sit down and meditate, and I'll show you how to connect with it. And it read like that at first, but then it quickly gets corrected right after the connection happens, where Ariel was like, oh, dude, I had no idea that was going to happen. Like, I was just trying to get you to like chill out and search yourself, and the whole connecting thing, that's something you did. So like I thought that was really cool. Just kind of, like it gave an opening for Cordio to to make that connection, to have a reason for something to happen, like kind of like Ariel put him in a state but didn't necessarily force him to do something. So I think it was kind of like, at first it read a little bit like, oh, I know how to handle this, and maybe Ariel has a background that would let them do that. But I like the way that it did turn out, where it was kind of like, oh, dude, no, that was all you. So this really cool little thing happens when he's concentrating. This like blue pool, this like aura or whatever appears below him, and Cordio's actually got his eyes closed, doesn't even know what's going on, and we don't. No one seems to know what it is, kind of thing, and so we don't have confirmation of what that is. Like, was that, I guess we're gonna have to read the next log and find out, like, was that an awakening of some sort of special power? Is that the caves like doing something? Like, is that the crystals resonating? And you can see the crystals over here, the crystal cave. So he then gets he gets shocked he gets awakened basically instantly and pushed back. It goes flying into this lake. And they're like, oh, what happened? Are you okay? Kind of deal. Like, and like, I don't know what happened. Like, this magic circle, and then all of a sudden you were blown back. Like, no one even touched you, and you just sent yourself flying. And there's this confusion. And before, in the old log, or the old log, the one I just read, it's not even that old. The crystals had glowed. They reacted to like strong emotions. So it almost seems like there's something else that caused a reaction, or perhaps it was emotions again. So I think this is a really good exploration of what this cave might be, and it does a really good job of setting us up to wonder, like, what's going on? What is Cordio going to discover? Are we unlocking some sort of potential here? That kind of thing. So I really liked that. Uh, and then here in the closing, they talk about, like, oh, hey, like, I'll help you out with anything. It's something hard that you have to work towards is always worth it in the end, kind of deal. And there's a few funny things that happen, like Ariel's still in her gown the whole time from the hospital, which is like, hopefully you had some shorts on or pants, because sometimes they just leave in the hospital in just a gown. But I guess if you're walking outside, you were probably at least somewhat decent, right? And Cordio, I thought it was a nice touch. He talked about losing his shoes before, like he left his Namekian shoes, and I was thinking, like, I don't know. Piccolo might have had sneakers on when he did the driving test with Goku, but for some reason the thought of a Namek not having their nice little brown shoes just seems so fun to me. Like this, Cordio's running around with sneakers on, which would be like, I guess, like if it would probably just be normal if we have a bunch of Nameks living on Earth, but it seems kind of like they would stick to their shoes, kind of thing. And that's kind of how it seems like Cordio feels too. Like he finds his old shoes and it's like, oh, thank God, let me get back in these things. And, I guess I'll hang on to the sneakers in case I need new shoes again. There's, a little bit of, there's some fun things that happen in here too. There's little things where, he's wet, but he just like turns his key on and he's dry again. And, those are the fun things that, the little details that I like to see sometimes, especially just because we would all do that if we could, right? You know what I mean? Like every day, if we could power up and dry off, like most of us, I don't think would grab the towel when we got out of the shower. If we'd do a little Kaioken and be fine, right? So, anyway, it was a great log. I think it's a perfect setup for letting us see more. And I kind of want to see what happens next with these people. And I've heard a little bit, like just in passing, about like a big fight that everyone, or big arc that everyone was involved in. So I might go back and try to read those to see just how everyone got hurt, ended up in the hospital. And Not sure. I have a feeling Cordio's going to do more at this cave, which is good. Um, and Arrow was kind of the supporting character in this log, but I'd also like to look in to see what they're going to do next. I'm not sure what their current pursuit is and stuff. But yeah, anyway, I hope that was a decent rundown of it. I really enjoyed reading it. I liked it a lot. So talk to you guys next time.